So here's the dirty little secret about your comfort zone. Almost everyone who talks about going outside of it is missing a crucial part of the picture. It's true that no matter what your goals are, you'll probably have to exit your comfort zone to reach them. And this is a fact whether you're looking to improve your communication skills, build your confidence, achieve professional goals, and basically anything else. In traditional coaching and psychology, people talk about what's inside of the comfort zone and what's outside of the comfort zone. They'll say things like, everything you already have and do is inside your comfort zone, and everything you want is outside of it. And generally speaking, they're right, of course. But this is such an oversimplification that it does more harm than good. Saying you just have to go outside your comfort zone to get what you want makes it sound like any area outside of your comfort zone will be equally uncomfortable. But that's not true, is it? If you're afraid of spiders, for example, there is a big difference between seeing a spider inside a glass tank through the window of a pet store over there and being locked in a dark room with 50 of them crawling around on the walls around you. So, you see, the model of the comfort zone doesn't look like this. It's not just inside and outside. There are actually two more zones that we have to know about if we want to be able to consistently go outside of our comfort zone in healthy and constructive ways. Because some things outside of our comfort zone, such as being locked in a room full of spiders, might be so far outside of it that doing them will create psychological trauma. And when we experience something as traumatic, we tend to stay away from that thing as much as we can in the future. These things are in what we call the panic zone. And going into our panic zone can make us retreat from an activity or a situation to such an extent that we simply give up on the idea of ever mastering it or being comfortable with it. And that, of course, isn't going to help us reach our goals. So, what do we do instead? Well, we make sure to stay in our growth zone. Our growth zone is that wonderful place between our comfort zone and our panic zone. It's where we learn and grow as a person, and it's not just a safe way for us to become more comfortable with the things we're practicing, but when we see that we are able to do something, even if we don't really feel comfortable when we do it, we also tend to improve our confidence and our motivation. But how do we know what's in our various zones? Well, the first step is to understand the difference between stressful experiences and traumatic ones. Because stress, when we're trying to grow, is not just a good thing, it's actually necessary. The hormones in our body that's released when we get a little nervous or frustrated or stressed, such as cortisol, is also needed for the brain to change its wiring and make new learning permanent. So being a little uncomfortable when we're practicing something new is great for our progress. Trauma, on the other hand, should be avoided. And when I say trauma, I basically mean anything that triggers our fight, flight, or freeze reflex. Anything that makes us feel like we'd rather lay down and cry, throw up, run away, panic, or similar things. But sometimes we might not have a choice, or we might accidentally step into our panic zone. If that happens to you, take a step back as soon as you can, forget about what you were planning to do, find your comfort zone and relax for a bit. Once you start feeling okay again, adjust what you were doing to something more doable, something in your growth zone, and try again. But be aware that when you're in your growth zone, you'll also usually feel some uncomfortable feelings. But these feelings will be more manageable, and they are the ones that will help you learn and grow. These feelings can include things like nervousness, slight anxieties, feeling uncomfortable, feeling stressed, or even a little scared. And again, that is perfectly fine. Your goal shouldn't be to never experience these emotions. Your goal should be to get comfortable doing what you should or need to do despite them. In other words, you want to become a little comfortable being a little uncomfortable. The great thing is that once you've spent some time in your growth zone, your unconscious mind, which was previously serving up all kinds of fearful, stressed out, or nervous thoughts about the thing you were doing, starts to see that you're perfectly safe. And when it does, it's going to start changing its thinking and start serving you calm, comfortable, confident, or even happy and excited thoughts about it instead. When that happens, your comfort zone has expanded. And all of a sudden, those activities that you were doing in your growth zone end up inside of your comfort zone. And when that happens, everything changes. You see, there's a set relationship between your comfort zone and your growth zone. That means that when your comfort zone expands to include something new, it expands your growth zone too. And that makes things that were once in your panic zone slip into your growth zone, and you can now safely start practicing them and take another step towards your ultimate goal. Okay, so now that you understand all of this, let's talk about how to apply it in a real-world situation using a simple 3-step process. Now, this process should work for just about anything that you want to become more comfortable with. But as an example, let's say that Jake wants to become comfortable talking to strangers, both so he can meet more people socially and so he can network better at his job. In that case, the 3-step process for Jake might look a little something like this. Step 1. Define your end goal. In Jake's example, he might set a big one for himself and say something like, I'd like to be able to start and hold conversations with basically anyone, anywhere. With that done, he'll go on to step 2. Define your starting point. This is about identifying one or more relevant behaviors that are already in your comfort zone. So Jake might be comfortable giving strangers a smile and a nod when passing them on the street or standing next to them in a line, as long as he doesn't actually have to say anything. Now with that done, we have a starting point and an end point, and we're ready for step 3, which is to create a growth zone exercise. A growth zone exercise is something that is a small step past your starting point and toward your end goal. It's something that will make you a little nervous, stressed, or uncomfortable, but that you will be able to do most of the times you try. In other words, it's an action in your growth zone that's a little closer to your end goal than you are right now in your comfort zone. The crucial part of this step is to make sure that the exercise is neither in your comfort zone where it's too easy or in your panic zone where it gets too hard and you never get to practice it. For Jake, this could be something as simple as saying hi or good evening to the people that he passed throughout his day. It's a little more than a smile and a nod, but not something that makes him panic. So Jake can go out and practice that as many times as he can every day. And once he starts becoming comfortable with it, his starting point is no longer a nod and a smile, it's now exchanging these short pleasantries. Then, with this new starting point in mind, Jake can come up with a new growth zone exercise. Maybe this time, something like asking a simple question or giving quick compliments, or something else that requires him to speak a full sentence and get a reply before he moves on. By repeating this process over and over again, it will only be a matter of time before Jake's end goal is in his growth zone so that he can start practicing it and eventually move it into his comfort zone. All it requires is a little patience and the willingness to make consistent efforts in his growth zone for as long as necessary. Does that make sense? As always, if you have any questions at all, don't be afraid to reach out to me via email at contact@tjguttormson.com or in my Facebook group that you'll get to if you type fb.tjguttormson.com into your browser. And if you want to learn more about this or any of the other topics I teach, I strongly recommend you head over to courses.tjguttormson.com where you'll find lots more resources. Thanks for watching, remember to subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon.